1. The Smiling Man. Late one evening, I was walking to my apartment from my friend's house. As I was walking through a quiet neighborhood, I noticed a man a few yards ahead of me. He was walking in a strange, almost dance-like manner. I tried to ignore him and kept walking. But then I realized that he was staring at me and had this unnerving grin on his face. I picked up my pace, but he matched my speed, still smiling. I was feeling increasingly panicked, so I crossed the street. To my horror, he crossed too. I started running, and when I looked back, he was gone. It was like he had vanished into thin air. 2. The Basement Tenant. I live alone in a small house with a basement that I rarely visit. One day, I decided to go down there to grab something I needed. As I was searching around, I heard a faint voice saying, "Help me." I froze and listened. The voice was coming from a corner of the basement behind some old boxes. I moved the boxes and found a small crawl space. Inside was a makeshift bed, some food wrappers, and a small notebook. The notebook was filled with desperate pleas for help, dated over several years. I called the police, and it turned out that someone had been secretly living in my basement for years without my knowledge. 3. The Disappearing Campers. A few years ago, my friends and I went camping in a remote area. On the second night, we heard strange noises coming from the woods. We brushed it off as animals and went to bed. The next morning, 2 of our friends were missing. We searched the entire area but couldn't find any trace of them. We eventually reported it to the authorities, and an extensive search was conducted, but they were never found. What's eerie is that we found their tents and belongings untouched, as if they had just vanished into thin air. 4. The Staircase in the Woods. I used to work as a search and rescue officer in a national park. We were trained to never go near the mysterious staircases we sometimes found deep in the woods. They seemed to lead to nowhere and gave off an eerie feeling. One day, I couldn't resist my curiosity and climbed one of the staircases. When I reached the top, I heard my mother's voice calling my name from below. But my mother had died years ago. 5. The Vanishing Hitchhiker. I was driving alone on a deserted road when I saw a hitchhiker on the side. I felt sorry for her and stopped to offer a ride. She got in, and we started chatting. But when I glanced at her again, she had disappeared. I slammed on the brakes and looked around, but she was nowhere to be found. To this day, I have no idea who or what I picked up that night. 6. The Midnight Caller. One night, I received a call on my landline phone. When I picked up, I heard heavy breathing on the other end. I hung up and went back to bed. But the calls continued every night at exactly midnight, always with the same heavy breathing. One night, I mustered the courage to ask, "Who are you?" The voice on the other end replied, "I'm in the house with you." I quickly called the police and they found an intruder hiding in my closet. I couldn't sleep for weeks. 7. The Haunted Doll. My grandmother gave me an old porcelain doll when I was a child. At first, I loved it, but strange things started happening after I put it in my room. I would wake up to find it in different positions, sometimes even moving on its own. One night, I woke up to the feeling of someone watching me. The doll was at the foot of my bed, its eyes focused on me. Terrified, I threw it in a box and buried it in the backyard. The next morning, the doll was back in my room, sitting on my dresser. 8. The Mirror Ritual. I stumbled upon a post on a dark corner of the internet that described a ritual involving a mirror. Supposedly, if you stared into the mirror in complete darkness and said your name 3 times, your reflection would eventually smile and then do things you weren't doing. Skeptical, I tried it one night. As I stared, my reflection indeed began to smile. But when I said my name for the 3rd time, my reflection's smile grew wider and more sinister. I turned on the lights and my reflection was normal again. That night still bothers me till this day. 9. The Unfinished Painting. I'm an artist, and one day I found an old, unfinished painting in my attic. It depicted a dark forest with an eerie cabin in the distance. Something about the painting drew me in, so I decided to complete it. As I painted, I started feeling a strange presence behind me. When I turned around, I saw a figure standing by the cabin. Its face was twisted in a sinister grin. I blinked, and it was gone. I finished the painting quickly and locked it away in the attic, but I can still feel its eyes on me. I haven't looked at the painting since. 10. The Haunting Dream. I had a recurring dream where I was in my childhood home. In the dream, I would always walk down the hallway and enter my parents' room. There, I would find my own dead body lying on the bed. I would wake up in a cold sweat every time. One night, the dream changed. I walked into my parents' room, and instead of my own body, I saw a tall, shadowy figure standing by the window, watching me. I woke up, and I've been afraid to enter that room ever since. It gives me chills just thinking about it.